And we're back. Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Common Sense with me, Mike Omani. Thank you for listening to this podcast. This is the most consistent we've been. And I know, we've been going for like 2 years now, but we have like 30 episodes. You're probably wondering, why so little? Why so few? It's because we've been really inconsistent, but this is the year. And we've been quite consistent. So thank you for sticking with us. If you're someone who's been watching from the beginning, or listening rather, then thank you so much. Of course, just to remind those who still listen, or who primarily listen, that we have a video or visual version of this podcast on YouTube. So do check that out when you have time. And if it's your first time, thank you for trying us out. My hope is that you can just explore with us as we talk about all sorts of different topics. We get a range of guests, and today we got an interesting guest. In fact, for those who have been there, the day ones, I think that's what they call them. This is a treat for you, because I've actually got the first ever guest we had, like when we first started, and we had a really interesting conversation. It was in my house. He actually beatboxed for me. It's really, really random. He was just like, I was like, what is going on here? What a way to start a podcast, I was thinking in my head. So we've got him today. But before we go into that conversation, which I know is going to be really interesting, just want to encourage you to check out tcsnetwork.co.uk. We've got a range of articles on there right now. There's an article on, 3 really important articles I think to check out, even on your way to work or lunchtime, or even after work, whenever you listen to this podcast. One's about the Scottish referendum and whether Scotland should leave or stay. We've got 2 different perspectives on that. That was really interesting. We did an interview with a woman called Stephanie, who just directed a film all about the plight of Black women in the grime industry, which is something I never knew about. But she's done a short film with YouTube, and you should check that out. It's something the mainstream media isn't shouting about, but it's worth your attention and time. And of course, check out Common Sense Live, which is a live show we do on Common Sense Wednesday. So it will be live this Wednesday at 7 p.m. where we have a lot of debates about the news and current affairs. So check that out too. But enough housekeeping stuff. Let me bring on my special guest, digital strategist, online content creator, Josiah Hyacinth. Hey, man, what's up?
I'm good. Glad to be back.
Can you hear me? Or is there a
beatbox
delay? I think there's a crazy delay.
No, I think you're good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
But how long between me speaking can you hear me? Hey.
Like instantly. Instantly.
Why? You're being quite you're taking a while to respond.
Oh, really?
Guys, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We're recording this online for folks listening. So sorry if you're like, what is going on? What are they doing? How are you doing, Josiah?
I'm good. I'm well. Doing really well, surviving. Yeah, I'm really good.
Some people obviously know you as Mr. 200 meters as well, which is like your online person. Like what's happening with that? Because I'm sorry, you're probably thinking what?
Yeah, no. Okay, so it's so I think obviously, so it's my online persona for like my YouTube channel, kind of like it's the familiar name that most people know. And half of me kind of really wants to let go of the name and kind of like branch into being recognized as just who I am. But then I'm also kind of a bit torn, because Mr. 200 is obviously a real representation and a personal dream of mine. So part of me wants to keep that for the dream that I have towards that. But then part of me wants to just kind of grow up. So I'm fighting right now. So, yeah. Just keep following.
I know. Sorry, it probably feels like I've ambushed you a bit. Like, what?
This is a big question.
No, but the reason why I think it's actually interesting, because I think this episode particularly is probably going to be interesting for folks who are interested in content creation, or who've always also wondered like how you navigate the whole online stuff. Because what you're talking about there really is like this kind of, I hate to get deep so quickly, but this struggle between like your online brand and like who you actually are, and the whole kind of, are you the person? Because you've got like over 50,000 subscribers. I mean, that's just ridiculous numbers. Most of us will never have that amount of people watching what we do, but you've got a lot of eyes on you. So like it's hard, right? I want to say I get it, but I don't.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I think especially now the way the world is going. I mean, you can just about get any opportunity just by being a personality. So there's an increasing desire now for the average person to want to become a personality because everybody's an influencer now, right? So there's an increasingly blurred line because like marketing tells you that you got to be as authentic as possible, and to be really authentic is you got to be real if you really can, right?
Yeah.
So it's like there's an increasing blurred line. So I think for myself, like where I'm at, in life is I don't like that. I actually like my privacy. I've always wanted my privacy, but I happen to kind of create content and it got seen by so many people that I kind of lost that opportunity. So I'm sort of trying to reclaim that back, but at the same time, the way the world is, it's really hard to remove yourself if you're already there, because of how many people depend on you, but then also like how the world feels now. You can feel so disconnected if you just kind of like just disappear, because all your friends are online. Everybody's we're so interconnected now. So there's finding that balance really for me. That's where I'm at.
On the privacy point, it's interesting because you're someone who, unlike most people, you kind of I don't know if that's even fair, but you've been online for a while, as in you've kind of grown up online. Like I don't want to compare it to like those Disney. The story never ends well, right? So I don't want to compare you to them, but like, what does privacy actually look like for someone like you, who, if I'm correct, you were making YouTube videos, amassing hundreds of thousands of views, like when you were what, like 19, 18?
Yeah, 18.
So like, what does privacy look like for you now? Just taking a walk at night or something? Like,
yeah, I mean, like a part of what I mean to kind of put into context, like what was really crazy. I remember I worked in a restaurant, and it got to a point I couldn't work anymore because so many people would come in to try to get pictures with me and try to talk to me and just try to have a moment with me, and that was great. But it pushed me to this point where I was like, damn, like I don't feel like I can go back to work in a regular job, the way I knew it. Everywhere I go, even till today, funny enough, I still get stopped by people. People still want to talk to me. People still ask for pictures, and it's so surprising to me because I'm really not online as much. So I guess privacy for me really is there are parts of my life, even though everything is, there's a lot of stuff out there. It's like I constantly leave people in a state of confusion. I quite enjoy that because people think they know so much, but at the end of the day, there's some things in my life that are really, really, really personal that people still don't know. So privacy for me is it's relatively simple. I mean, I can still go out, do everything I do, but I guess I have to be very cautious about who I speak to. I have to be mindful about how I speak all the time, because that's just the way the internet works. You say the wrong thing and then you end up in the wrong space. So yeah, I mean, privacy is tough for me. I don't really go out too much. I guess the social side is, like you start to fear. Sometimes you get a little bit of social anxiety here and there. So, I mean, it's not something I really think about as a problem because I'm okay with being a guy.
For people listening to this, they may be thinking, oh, please, this guy's exaggerating. People aren't stopping on the streets. But I actually have two experiences I had with Josiah where I could actually say it's true. Right, one experience. I remember being invited to speak at some school. Like it was a school to talk to young people about kind of becoming better. I'm not the guy you ask for these things, to be honest. I'm not. I think I scared them. That's another story.
Yeah, you were like, get your life together. I can't even remember what you said.
It wasn't a great speech. But anyways, I remember being invited there. So I was like, obviously I know Josiah super, super well. Josiah's family. So I said, well, why don't you come along with me? So he came along with me. We went to the school, and some kids were trying to break into you might not have known this, but some kids, the teacher was telling me, some kids were trying to break into the speech because the speech was for like, I think some of the bad
for some of the boys,
yeah. But some kids were trying to get in, like to be like, we're not talking to Josiah. And I remember thinking, well, I'm the one speaking, right? But obviously no one cared, to be quite frank. And then the second time was when I think we were here in Manchester and we were walking somewhere. And I remember like we were in the kind of high street, wherever it is.
Yeah.
And I think it was like 3 girls or something, or 2 like young girls. And they were kind of like walking, kind of, when people are kind of walking close to you.
You feel like they know you, but you're not sure.
In my head, I'm thinking, I do not know these young kids. I mean, I don't want to know them. They're literally like 14, 15. I have no business with 14 or 16-year-old girls. So I was kind of trying to get away from them, right? and then they stopped. Like, so I was thinking, what? They're like, oh, you missed the 200 meters. Oh, can we get? And you're like, yeah, man, guys, it's all right. Yeah,
yeah, man.
Like, yeah, y'all want a picture? You know, I don't know why you became American, but you were like, y'all want a picture? Yeah, man. And then you kind of hugged them and took a picture. And I thought, wow, like this is crazy, because like that's stuff that when we were younger, when I was like a kid, I thought like only 50 Cent got that. Like in my head, this is what, because of social media, you're now able to galvanize that kind of like, and obviously I'm not like you, I don't do what you do, but I've seen it happen too, where from socials, people can actually have life-changing moments around your content. How does that feel? Do you feel pressure? And how do you kind of deal with that kind of pressure?
I guess, yeah, I've felt a lot of pressure. I think I feel a lot of pressure all the time. Majorly because, yeah, like, you know, I mean, for example, being in university, like, you know, you want to talk to girls, you want to be a guy. And I've always felt this pressure that I can't slip up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've always felt this pressure that
I think you're frozen. This happened. Hold on 1 minute. Hold on 1 minute.
Cool.
Can you hear me? So you are now frozen on my screen. Okay, now you're back. You're back. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I was gonna say, like, I mean, I remember when I was in university, you know, like I just wanted to just be able to, you know, find somebody attractive, you want to speak to them, blah blah blah, like just normal things that you want to do, just normally go into this, like do stuff and speak to people. I found that I had to be very mindful because, like, your name just travels everywhere. So, like, dealing with that brought some pressure because I realized very quickly that I really had to be very mindful about my actions. But then also, you know, I'm a very friendly person generally, but I had to also try to have to pull back some of my natural proclivities, because like you don't want to give somebody the wrong idea in the wrong way. So there is always pressure when somebody looks up to you and you can't tell how they're looking at you. There is always pressure to try to, you know, to be friendly enough, to be warm enough, but also to be respectful enough to try to retain the boundary that you do want. So that's there's a lot of pressure all the time, I think. But I guess how I handle it is, I guess for some of these people, like this is like their one moment, and people's lives really change. So I really try to respect those moments if I can. You know, I honor that moment. Like it might not mean anything to me, but to somebody else, if somebody's gone from a dark place and they feel much better in their life, I have to honor that moment and make that moment theirs. So how I handle it when I experience it, or just how I move, is the fact that some people generally have real needs, and people's lives can get changed by a word. So if the small sacrifice for me is to make sure that the words I'm saying aren't useless, then I'll make that, because I do care about the impact I make in my community. And I really want to make sure that I leave a good legacy in people's hearts, like in the world. I don't want to be remembered for anything ill. You know, I don't have ill intention, and I sure as hell don't want anybody to feel that way. So I guess I handle it by making sure that I step up to the leadership, to be more respectful, to be more mindful, to always educate myself. So that's how I respond to it, because otherwise people are still going to say anything, and you know, you got to evolve with time, I guess, to a degree.
No, it's really good to hear you say that, because I think people might even be surprised to hear that, because I think instinctively some of us non-influencers, I don't know if I don't
you're an influencer.
they might look at it and be like, oh, listen, all you're doing is just amassing a following. And I was talking to, you know, in the last episode with Bola Soul, who was a wellness financial coach. You know, I was saying that during lockdown, you know, you're announcing all these kind of new book deals and things are going well, and people may look at you and go, oh, well, you're just like, it's easy for you. Yeah. You're an influencer. You've got all these thousands of people. You can monetize your audience, blah, 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 blah. But they don't get it that you're not just trying to, you know, just grow an audience and do your thing. You're like, there's genuine influencers out there. It's odd because I think the influencer industry, if I want to call it that, is unfortunately has been ruined, I think, in part by some very specific influences.
Yeah.
I don't know this lady's name, so I won't say her name, but you remember that video of that was on I think it was on Good Morning Britain, where this influencer was in Dubai.
Yeah. Oh god.
And she was saying, before she had the story, she was saying that she flew to Dubai, breaking lockdown rules, because her job is obviously to inspire people. So, she did that universally known influential thing of riding a camel and putting it on Instagram, to kind of encourage people to be better, right?
To be happy.
When you see something like that, you just go, oh my God, this is setting us back. Or do you just look at her? I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, no, I thought, oh my goodness, like, well, you didn't help yourself. You know what I mean? But like, I mean, I hear it because obviously, like, a lot of influencers do somehow feel this moral obligation to uplift their community because they are interacting directly with the community every day. Like, it's really in our messages. It's almost like right here.
Yeah.
And because many people don't get that, I can understand kind of like a different perception towards that. But then equally, like me myself being someone who can see that, I think where the world is in, we have, I guess, the greater platform, the more eyes on us, and unfortunately we can't get away with certain things, but the reality is that's our reality. So let's work in line. I think in that situation, if you wanted to break that lockdown law, I'm not supporting it, but like if you wanted to do that, it would have been more mindful for you to be careful how you operate, because the world is watching, and then you basically incite something that I'm sure you don't really want to experience whilst being in Dubai.
Well, she would say she's an essential worker. She would say, and do you see your work as like essential work? Because this is another thing. Like, you remember, like, I don't know how long you've been on social media for, but I've been on Twitter for a long time. And with Twitter, there was a time where if you had 1,000 followers, that was like,
like that you were the guy.
You're crazy. Where did you find 1,000 people? Now people have like 40,000, 50,000, like, and they're 15 years old.
Yeah.
So is the currency being diluted then? Because now everyone has over 1,000 followers. So isn't, as you said at the start, isn't everyone kind of an influencer? What's the point of like the ones that have like 10K? Because now I think on Instagram, if you do something like maybe you have a you have a soap thing you sell, or you even just like you're a podcaster, the goal for a lot of people is 10K. I need to reach 10K followers. So I'm like, well, are we all just gonna be producers and influencers and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think that's where the world is moving towards. I mean, like, you look at every sort of application, you look at Instagram, for example. I mean, for a moment in time, actually, we saw Instagram kind of geared towards the creator economy. It's kind of moving away from there slightly, but by what it looks like. But yeah, I think the world has made this huge shift to really trying to empower every single consumer to be able to be an influencer. We look at the rise of TikTok. TikTok's success is basically being able to put some of the resources that would cost somebody who makes money and is like can produce properly, like they put that in the hands of an average person, and they can produce really great quality content that's quick. So everybody has the ability to grow now. Everybody can grow their own audience. I mean, the world has many voices now. Everybody can scream at the same time. So
you think that's a good thing?
I mean, I think it's good, and I think it's a good thing. But also, my personal opinion is obviously, I think it's dangerous. When I look at, for example, myself when I was younger, if I had the whole world looking at me while I made some mistakes, like that would have been very detrimental to my life. And some of the social issues and social development stages you go through, I think there needs to be, it's important to have a stage through your life where you can make certain mistakes almost in private. So I think as everything is amplified in the world, I do wonder, like, some of the things I'm feeling as a 23-year-old through some of the negative aspects of social media that I've experienced. Imagine feeling that at 10. At younger ages, right? It's damaging at my age. Imagine to somebody who's not really experienced the world properly. So I guess is there a discussion to talk about the effects of what this can do to younger people?
Big time.
So
like that's a powerful point you just made. It's something I've been thinking about. I haven't quite found a way to vocalize it, but what I was trying to get at, and you can tell me what you think about this too, is like, and by the way, folks, if you want to join this conversation, the hashtag is LTCS. You can do so online. Because, when you're kind of going through puberty, my puberty experience happened pretty young. My voice broke like very young. I remember kind of just waking up and being like, hello. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm Batman. Like literally just randomly, right? And like when you're young, so when you're going through puberty, you have a lot of kind of internal feelings. Obviously, you don't quite understand. You're getting sexual urges for the first time. Before you just kind of like everyone was just like a teddy bear. Now you're like, oh, that girl's good looking. It started happening in your brain. But then a lot of that is internal, and like you start thinking a bit more about how you're perceived through when you're kind of going through adolescence as well. You start wearing nicer trainers. You start remember when we all wore flares like in
legit
carry the backpacks with like the French dictionary, Spanish dictionary, everything.
the big ones.
You know what's groundbreaking for me? When someone told me, you don't have to bring all, because I used to take all the books for all my subjects every day,
all the time.
And so I was like, why don't you take what you need for the day? And I was like, oh, but there was that blissful moment, and then you grow up, and then you're thinking about girls, you're thinking about how you're perceived. And the problem with social media is that's just a normal adolescence thing, that thing where someone comes to you, my nose is massive, and you're like, no, it's actually okay. But social media takes that little space where you're kind of, making sense of who you are and just multiplies it by like, or stretches it to its intrinsic maximum. And so now that your nose is big thing that you may be feeling, 1,000 people may go, yes, it's big. And then you're like, whatever. It's so damaging. Funny enough, I want to ask you about a guy who, again, I've talked about him with another guy before called this is one of the TikTokers called Poku Banks, right? Have you heard that name before?
I've heard the name, but I can't put the name to the face.
But here's my thing, right? So he makes content about, I think, financial wellness, like helping young people invest or save money, that kind of stuff, like stuff you'd be like, But he trended on social not too long ago because he made a video or videos that are a bit questionable or that are a bit annoying, whatever it is. He made a video that wasn't well received on Twitter. And rather than being like, a bit awkward, people made a thing, like it became a thing, like a moment, like people started mocking it, people sending the guy all sorts of kind of hate. I just thought to myself, in the normal world, it's just a little mistake. Because literally, we're human beings that make mistakes, and that's how we grow. But on social media, it's now a moment. It's like that's all you are. People like just lock you in that prison.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced it. I have some good experience with that, and it's I mean, it's stuff that like one can argue like this is. I think the problem, what's frustrating about it, like you said, is feeling entrapped in this stage that you've like actually moved past in your life, right? That you don't think the same. I think the problem with kind of everybody having this ability to amplify their voice 1,000 times is obviously that there are great things that get amplified, but they're very evil things that get amplified. And I think, like it's unfortunate because the assumption that the increasing number of your followers like somehow is equivalent to your IQ is crazy to me, right? Some people, I mean, like the fact that the more followers I get, the more well spoken I should be. I mean, I think that's crazy. And I think that's a problem. Some people just are looking at these influences, whether young or old, as I don't know if the right word is in such a monolithic point of view, like as just they can only be one thing. That's all they are. And it's like, no, these are real human beings who have real emotions, real mistakes, real errors. And I think if we can eradicate these thoughts and I guess cancel culture where we just place somebody in a moment in time, then I think it'll be progressively be better. But I think it's the world we live in. I think things change, people grow. And I think the more people grow and the more people have these experiences, unfortunately, they will learn, and that's really it. But it's scary to see, like for me, like I'm really nervous about younger people who might have to run into something that really they should have avoided because that's a mistake you make while you're young. I used to be a very angry kid as a young child, and imagine everything I said was being recorded, like to be villainized on real expressions as a young boy. So it's interesting. It's scary, to say the least.
I'll be honest with you. I'm probably further down the line than you. I think it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Because again, like you, when I was a kid, I literally was that kid that would like my humor was, how do I say the worst thing possible to get my friends to laugh. That was our humor. Now ask me, 26-year-old Mike, to look back at when I was 14. I would be like, that kid was an absolute idiot. The only thing, the most important thing to him at that time was having a girlfriend and being funny and liked. That was all I cared about. PC, they didn't care. Whether something was had a sexist, but didn't care. It was just be funny, have a girlfriend, right?
Exactly.
So to go back in time and judge that kid's crazy. But the whole like democratizing thing of social media. Obviously, I started a PhD not too long ago talking about, not social media, but SNS sites and online and the power of giving people a say, so to speak. So you think about the Arab Spring uprisings and how that was fueled by ordinary people on their cell phones. Think about Obama, who really was the precursor for Trump in many ways. But before people get a heart attack, what I'm saying is he used people like, huh?
Oh my God! How can you say that? I'm unsubscribed right now.
Don't forget to subscribe, folks. What I mean is he's one of the first people that used social media, like Twitter, hashtags. He was like a celebrity president for the first time ever.
His process, yeah.
So I mean, you'd probably say Reagan was an early precursor, but then you had Obama that certainly used SNS sites. So I forgot my point. What am I talking about? Oh yes, so you go down too many sides, you get lost. So the democratizing kind of point of social media is amazing. It's powerful. We've all seen how amazing it is to feel like you have a voice. However, not everyone should have a voice on social media. That's like that's weighted. I know people might whoa. And that's what I mean by that, right? Clubhouse, for me, is probably one of the most interesting and worst inventions I've seen. Because what Clubhouse does is it gives like young people who are still formulating their opinions like a sense of, oh no, like you're right. And so I remember joining I love doing this, like around 9:30 p.m. I would just go on Clubhouse, scroll through and just join random chats. Chats that I have no business being in, just to hear what people are speaking about. I'm a journalist, I'm curious, right? So I'll join. And I joined one not too long ago that said something crazy like Obama is a warlord, something like that.
Whoa.
So I'm like, okay, interesting. So I join it. And everyone's like, yeah, he's a warlord, saying different things. And it's not even just this one chat, because I know some of them may come and listen and go, what? I'll join. And then you hear people saying some crazy things like, Obama is this. He actually ruined the black community. The black community is destroyed because of Obama. Someone said he's an idiot. He's incompetent. So I'm like, this is a big thing. So I'll click on their names and click on their bio. This is first-year politics student. And I just go, we don't know what you're talking about. Maybe that sounds rude to some people. I don't care. You do not know what you're talking about. But some of them are sixth former. And so you're doing politics AS. And you think the president of the free world is incompetent and stupid. These are people still, it baffles me that you'd be given, and these people thousands of followers. And you go, why do you have thousands of followers? You should be in school, not because you should shut up, quote unquote. I don't believe in that. But you should be humble. You're learning. Like, why would you imagine giving that 14-year-old me a platform?
Yeah. Honestly, I think about it and I think, damn, I would be, like you just wouldn't say the right stuff. And man, it's crazy. It's so crazy. But
let's talk about these challenges. Let's talk about these challenges because you recently did the silhouette. You did the silhouette challenge.
I did a spin on it. Those of you listening, I put a spin on it.
We should probably clarify. You didn't. Nothing was taken. Well, something was taken off actually. Because don't you also think these challenges, right? They started off really kind of cute and coy, and now people just look at my breasts. The people are now just like, I'm just naked now. And you're like, whoa. That was a transition from the cute little kind of like, now it's just people taking off their clothes. And you're like, what? So tell us what is the silhouette challenge and why did you take part in it?
All right. So the silhouette challenge is I'm not gonna live this down. Yeah, so the silhouette challenge is a challenge where I guess how do you even describe it? You stand in
You're
your
the one who did it.
I mean, so the normal challenge was you basically, it's a 2-part thing. You're in the light and then you're in the dark with a red light on. The silhouette is where you show your assets, to say the shapes, the curve, the art. That's what it is. So I guess what people did is, like, for a lot of people, they literally would strip down to like underwear or naked, and then they would show that silhouette.
Can you believe? Because I thought, listen, I really thought this was like a porn star. This is like porn stars did this stuff, but apparently, like,
everybody,
everyday people did it, and I just didn't believe it. Mainly because I didn't see it, because a lot of people I follow didn't do it. But did you see, like, your friends doing it?
Yeah, I mean, I saw quite a few people I knew.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, one day after lockdown, we're all gonna look each other in the eye. So those would be great conversations. So how was it? So how did your mom catch you?
Wow, like, I just thought, God.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. But yeah, so I guess my take on it was, I don't know, I saw it as more of a random opportunity, so it wasn't really planned. So I shot like a photography challenge. Well, I shot a self-series portrait of kind of like my expression of the frustrations and the thoughts I've been feeling whilst being in lockdown as a creative, and kind of like that battle of myself between, I guess, getting stuff done and wait for the perfect day versus actually just moving on with life and starting now. So I visualized that, and I guess once I shared that like 3 days before the silhouette challenge came up. And then when I kind of shot the BTS and put the video together, I was like hearing the music. I saw so many silhouette challenges on my timeline. Yes, I saw them, and it was just playing in my head, and I was like, "Oh my god, this makes sense." And the imagery that I created was also kind of almost like a silhouette, so it just made sense. So, I put that together. So that was my silhouette challenge, a creative take.
Was it well received?
Yeah, I mean, yes, it was really well received. I mean, it's a big win for the creative community. So yeah, no, got a lot of
we did it, Joe.
Yes, thanks, man. But yeah, no, it was good. It was received really well, actually. Yeah, it's a beautiful moment for me. I think, I guess, it was a triumph for me, majorly not so much the challenge, but I guess the artistic piece, because I guess my greatest doubt as somebody who is a creative right now by accident, it's like the greatest battle is yourself, and you often are the artist and the canvas. So like it was a huge win for me just to be able to see that, damn, I actually can still create art, because I've kind of lost a bit of confidence in myself, because I haven't been able to do what I really want to do the way I want to do it. So it was a big win personally, anyways, regardless for me.
No,
so,
it was amazing. And I think, I tell you this off air all the time, but like, you have one of the best minds I know, and you're super creative, and it was good to see, thousands of people like it and get involved and stuff like that. We've been knowing this already, like, we know, and we've we've witnessed your talents for years now, so it's good to see people kind of engaging with it. Yeah, I mean, it's folks can check it out, can't they, on your Instagram, Mr. 200 meters, or Josiah Hyacinth. They can find it and see what you did with it. I just find it so interesting. It's still, of course, I get it. There's one side that's like female empowerment, body autonomy, stuff like that, and I have no words for that. I'm not like, no, they should not do it. That's not, people can do whatever they want with their bodies. I'm very libertarian in that sense. Do what you want. It is interesting to me, though, on this topic of kind of maturing, growing up, and being held prisoner. I just wonder, the future version of us, us when we're 45, 56, do you look back at yourself doing these challenges and go, attaboy, that's exactly what you should have done? Or do we look back and just cringe and go, why was that ever okay? Because to me, it still seems mad to think of being naked online. That's just like
the fact that, I mean, I think because of the democratization of like content and all these different things, like everybody having a voice, everybody being able to go viral, like it kind of makes you forget the fact that nothing can be cleared on the internet. It kind of makes you feel like, like, just because everyone's doing it, it's cool, I can just be one of the few. But your name is your name, you know, and like I think that's a reminder. Like when I search my name on Google, there's everything that's there. So one thing I'm super happy about is you can't find too many crazy things about me, because I decided at a younger age, okay, I have to be really mindful because of, I guess, because I had the type of feedback I was getting from my followers required me to be a certain type of person. So I grew into accepting that, because it aligned with what I cared about, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, like I'm often quite nervous when I think about the idea that, imagine I made this error like this and now I can't wipe it off my name. Like, so that's scary. So there's a lot of people whose lives will be impacted. The opportunities they get in the future will be impacted because of some of the things that they put on there, that they just wanted to kind of join in on a challenge to liberate themselves. And now they've probably put themselves they could put themselves potentially in a situation which is not actually free at all, you know? So
Yeah.
that, I mean, you get to a point where, like, are we thinking far enough for our lives, or are we actually thinking that just as quick as the content comes, so will the opportunities and the money? And you know, I think I'm trying to live more of my life off the internet to really reconnect to the fact that, like, the internet is, like, not everybody's on the internet. I mean, not everybody's not even on social media. It's actually not a great percentage of people. So, like, there's a real world out there. So I really got engaged with that to make sure that I don't get lost in, I guess, all the little traps that we call, you know, moments that, you know, like challenges or all these great things that can be great for us. I don't get trapped in that. Rather, I get trapped in things that, you know, the real, you know, like, I try to talk to more people in real life.
Listen, you can't go wrong there. I want to be very careful as well, of course. You know, I'm an online person. I am online, and I think we need more people online too. I literally, this isn't a kind of advert for stay off social media. It's dangerous. It's not that. That's a tired old line. I think the internet has also meant some of us can find community. It's meant that we can have this kind of chat. This is the kind of chat me and you would have, like, every day. Do you know what I mean? That some people get to listen in on. So it's also very powerful. You know what my thing is? I just think we should join social media on our own terms. I think if you have to be someone you're not online, that's when you're having to leave your kind of what do we call it now? Your standards or your kind of priorities. They're being left at the door, and that's not good for anybody. So it would be interesting to see what happens with that. Of course, one of the things COVID's done is for the creator. Like, I feel like you folks won last year because I am the amount of YouTubers I saw doing. I wish I had keys. Like, should buy a house and just honestly, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the year of house buying for YouTubers, because, you know, everyone's at home, everyone's watching YouTube. Like, how did you find that for, like, your industry and what you do? Have you seen a bump in, like, eyes on you? You know, what has it changed your plans for the future?
Okay, so I think there was a huge shift. Everybody came online. So I remember the first week, if not, I think the first week of lockdown. The first lockdown. So that would have been this time last year, like March, February, end of February, March. I remember tweeting a tweet, or quote tweeting a tweet of, like, you know, some of the memes that were going around of some of the stuff that's happening with people, like, playing tennis in Italy and stuff like that. And I remember, like, quoting one, and it got over 1 million favorites. I think, like, ridiculous. Like if dare I say, I don't know, maybe like close to 2 million. I can't remember, but a few million favorites. I thought, this is a lot of people. Like, I've had, like, huge tweets, but 1 million, like, that's a
million.
Yeah, 1 million is bigger than where I'm from. It's bigger than my city, I think. I don't know, but that's 1 million people. So imagine me saying that tweet in front of everybody, like, like, that was crazy.
That's crazy, man.
You know.
Do you know the numbers thing? I was talking to a friend yesterday. You know, you do like an event, and you get 200 signups, and because it's digital, you're like, that's 200. Imagine seeing 200 people going in front of you. That's so $1 million.
That's what you write on LinkedIn. You know what I mean? Like, been in front of 200 people.
You know,
to 200 young men.
All right. Oh, my tweet was liked by 1 million people online.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but that's the weird thing is, obviously there's this seeming disconnect, but it's real people. So I think when I saw that, I was like, this is like, there was a lot of people online, and then, you know, that to me was just a lot. So yeah, it's it's too much. I lost my point. I lost where we were, but it's a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Did you go get your parents, like your mom? Mama, we made it. We are leaving this house tomorrow. Like
we'll go down. I got $1 million. But no, I think I remember where we were. Yeah, I think it was a good year. I think it was a good year for a lot of people. But at the same time, I guess for me personally, like I ended up working with a few kind of corporations because they were trying to get their content online. They were trying to capitalize on the fact that everybody was online. But the problem obviously with that is everybody tries to track content online. So the seeming quality of content changes, you know. There is more out there. So you often feel that you can get lost in the noise because there's just so much to consume, but then also there's more time to consume it. So it was a good year for a lot of people. For me personally, I spent more of that year behind the scenes trying to help other people get online, as by the nature of the kind of like my work and the things I do. So I saw that there was a huge demand in that way, because everybody had to onboard to the place where, you know, it's the new audience is. So I think it was a good year for a lot of influencers, but at the same time, yeah, like I don't know if it was rewarding for everybody, because, you know, like the more people onboard onto a platform, the platform obviously does change a little bit, you know. You know, if you know, I don't know if everybody would have still got paid in the same way, you know, being more, it's all these different things. So I don't know how truly good it was for creators. But
one of the big things you said, or one of the things you said, and obviously some folks may not know that, you know, you're a digital strategist. You know, you spend a lot of time with brands, helping them think about how they tell stories, communicate online. I know you're doing that for a range of clients. One thing you said that actually kind of blew my mind a bit, because I didn't really think about it that way, was the change in kind of marketing, the way kind of influencer marketing's changing. So of course, the typical model before was that if you had a brand, you'd pay said influencer with 10K followers to wear your dress and put it online and share it. And now businesses, of course, are just skipping that and just doing online, like that's direct to consumer.
That's what's crazy. I remember when Pretty Little Thing did the same thing, and everybody's just looking at like, this is I need to get £300 or a free outfit. But it's like, I'm looking at the whole industry changing, because I mean, it's the same thing that we're seeing in the shift of like high streets, like, you know, like online brands buying high streets. They're just skipping everything that matters and just like, yep. And it's the same, like influencers are dying because creators are rising, but they're really the same thing, right? But then you see lots of brands now just forgetting the influencer. They're just giving lots of money away, and you know, they get the buzz because everybody's talking, everybody's trying to get engaged.
And when you think about it, it's such a better way to market, because now you've got one, authenticity, which is like people actually writing funny tweets, putting funny pictures up, memes, all that kind of stuff. And they're not doing it. A lot of them don't think they're gonna win. It's just like a kind of it's fun and it's funny. So they're doing it because they actually enjoy it, rather than like, you know, thank you for my jacket. You know, I love it. Where people are like, do you really love it? Is it even your size, kind of thing? And then two, rather than having one influencer that shares like an image with their clothes and then gets, you know, 10% engagement, whatever it is,
the return of investment is much.
You can have. So like, I do wonder sometimes, you know, what will happen to influencers. Well, I don't really. It's not this. I don't lose sleep over it. I don't wake up like as the industry, quote unquote, changes. I just wonder what's going to happen. Like, because there was a golden age, there was a bubble, and a part of me thinks after lockdown. Because remember, someone said something really profound, and I want to get your thoughts on this. They were saying that, you know, we're all in a hurry to run back to normal. But then they said one thing we need to do is actually work out what normal is worth running back to. So lockdowns definitely changed our lives in lots of ways. And so the idea that we just want to run back to normal is like, hold on, what kind of normal are we trying to get back to? And I wonder if that era of the influencer with all these brand deals that post stuff on Instagram, you know, whether that's dying and we're entering a new era, as you're saying. And I guess, what does that bode? What does that mean for people like you, who, you know, you're a digital native, you've amassed like a great following by any comparison online, great engagement, stuff like that. Like, what do you think about, what are you going to turn that into? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the most crucial part of where I'm at right now, because I've been predicting this change for a while. So like, to see it actually happen is it's almost like, okay, cool, what do I do? And you'll notice that there are a lot more influencers now teaching, and then they're selling guides, because the natural route for lots of people who have the following is to to try to, monetize their audiences in smaller amounts. So, 1 million people buying a £1, guide. So I'm seeing a lot of influencers do that, or like some of the bigger numbers of influencers now, going more to the email marketing, going directly to their consumers and changing the format to some of these old formats of marketing. So they've now become the businesses almost starting at the top of what many businesses have now left. So I think that's a cycle I'm noticing. So I think a lot of the influencers will now become businesses who really monetize their audiences the way that old school marketing used to be. And then these new school brands are just going to reach the consumer the way the influencers used to be. So I think over a few years, I think that transition will naturally happen again, because people are also getting older. Brands going to change. The world's going to change. There's going to be new concerns. There's going to be new problems. There's going to be new, like the last year, like Black Lives Matter, like that was for the last few years, it's been a huge thing. But this last year, like the activity behind it, brands obviously have to really get behind some of these things. So as the world changes, I think naturally, I think there will be a sense of a cyclical nature of the industry changing hands, essentially, because if I look at the influencer now, some of these young people who have the following, who now everybody's a creator, that the brand may not work with anymore. The brands are gonna, if you monopolize a certain sort of system, it creates another problem on the other side. So I think naturally there has to be a continual shift. So I think naturally influencers will come back into demand because people are also changing, and it's an economics, where the supply, you have to fill demand. So as you fill the demand of everybody, the consumer, they're going to be people still going back natural consumer behavior. Like you just want to look up to people because we don't even care about what they do anymore. Like there's some influencers that, you don't look to them for the things they buy, but actually they still affect your buying behavior. They don't sell you anything, but you want to dress like them. So I think naturally, those are the people I would see as influencers that might rise. The people with very natural, human, very raw content. I think those people will become like really useful because everybody's, what was once authentic has now become the blank template. So the people who are naturally going against the grain will naturally stand out. So I don't know how that's going to look like naturally, but I think, like everybody's leaning to one side. There's obviously going to be people that are going to, kind of stand up. So I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think for me that's as accurate as I can think about it right now. I mean, it's majorly why I started doing the same thing a while ago, started writing more, building my own I took the same process, tried to offline all my followers to interact with them more, to make more of a difference, because when the whole world or a lot of these people are concerned with making content, I don't want to make content anymore. I like, by the time we come out of lockdown, hopefully I'm not 25, but as we go into the world, I have to expect that at least, I mean, in my mind, I don't see things really functioning at the same sort of ease as I saw them before until like 25 in the next 2 years. So when I go out to the world at that point, I really want to touch the hands I've spoken to before. I really want to engage with people before. And my first instinct isn't to sell to them, it's to grow with them. But then I think when you have a lifelong customer, that's what these brands will always want, because onboarding customers is a hard process. And I think these influencers who really care about their followers and have taken things offline to engage in the followership will become really, really important influencers, because their followers actually like them.
You're gonna have the ground base. No, that's some free. I feel like I'm in church. You just gave a prophecy.
And because content is so quick now, we're naturally going to get to a point where we want to step back. Like,
I think I said this like 2 years ago. I see like retreats happening where people have to like hand in their phones just to connect again, because it's ridiculously quick, and it can't be healthy for us the way we're processing. I mean, think about reading. You have to kind of like, take a book, open it, find where you were, slowly read it to see if there's something happening. And there's all these apps that's like, read this book in one minute, and then suddenly you know what's in the book. Like, that can't be healthy forever. So I do think you're right. There'll be some sort of kickback, as it were, and then maybe then that cyclical, symbiotic thing happens where you switch from one, switch to the other. Who knows, folks? But this is all very, very interesting, and one of the many reasons why you should follow and connect with Josiah Hyacinth, or Mr. 200 meters. Because insight like this is just kind of what your platform is. I'm grateful for your platform because I enjoy watching. I enjoy your tweets. I enjoy your posts. They're interesting. They aren't just new bag, you know. Not that that's wrong, by the way, because I know some fashion influencers might be like, "Yo, what's this guy trying to?"
Yeah,
I'm
he's
just
coming
saying,
from a bag.
it's like, it's not it's an LV bag. I know.
Yeah.
Do your thing, but it's good to know that there's like platforms too that you're not just trying to like make money and just monetize everybody. You're actually interested in value and stuff like that. So more kudos to you. Folks, I want to encourage you to subscribe and join this growing family. We've got some really interesting guests over the next 9 weeks. I was looking at the schedule and I was saying, oh God, it's going to be a good one.
Good.
And I'm happy. Yeah.
Am I number 9 or am I number 10?
No, but it is gonna be, and I'm just happy because we're getting into consistency. This is not a motivational podcast, but let me just say, listen, if you got momentum, just keep it going, just keep moving,
keep it going,
because momentum is so important. And for years we've been trying to get momentum on this podcast, and finally we're starting to get the fact that I can see the next 9 guests for me is just mind blowing. Because normally, it's just so I'm just like, I can't do it this week, I'm busy. Whereas now I'm like, okay, cool, we're committing to this thing, and we didn't. So if you're a listener, thank you so much for bearing with us through the bad audio, the low audio, the poorly edited.
You got the equipment now.
We've got these. I want to encourage you, please share this podcast with somebody. Literally just tap the share button and send it to someone you like, because this was a really kind of important conversation, and I think people will like it. And 2, sorry, what's the other thing people need to do to help it grow? Oh yes, follow it online, right? LTCS podcast.
Believe in it.
Hit the follow on Twitter and Instagram, and yeah, let's grow together. I hope this becomes. I'm excited because we've got really good guests. And I'm excited to have conversations like this. Anyways, that's it. Do you have anything to say? Or what? No, sorry. I need to act like a proper podcaster. That's the wrong question. Here's what I need to say. Where can people find you?
Yes. So I guess you can find me. So my Twitter is Josiah Hyacinth. That's JOSIAH Hyacinth. It's there on the screen. Yeah. Why
are you spelling Josiah? That's probably the easiest part.
No, but that's what you think until you get an email and it says, "Hey Joshua," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay."
It's not my name.
Yeah, it's not my name.
That's not my name. They call me Stacy. Do you remember that song?
I remember the song.
Great song.
But yeah, so find me on Twitter, Josiah Hyacinth, Instagram, Mr. 200M _. And search my name on Google. Drop me an email. Name and first name at gmail.com. Let's chat. Let's do it. I'm joking.
Chat on email. That's odd. Hi, Josiah. Just following up on what you said on the podcast. Wanna chat?
I get that. I get those type of emails, and I think it's the best thing. I've been getting so many emails these days, like, "Hey, I've been going through this in school. Just really want to want to talk to someone." I'm like, okay.
Oh,
yeah, it's a lot.
You know what? It's so good. Obviously, I started the mailing list not too long ago too, and I've always had one, but I just neglected them. I was just like, but to see responses coming back with like, "Oh wow, this helped." That's what we're all looking for, like connection, right? So that's why we're on here. We're all kind of really weird people who just want connection, and that's why we're online. We're looking for connection. So if you're listening, please connect, comment, share your thoughts. We love it. It's a drug for us. So anyways, but don't do drugs. Drugs are bad, right? Unless it's legal, like paracetamol. Anyways, bye guys. See you in the next one. Thank you, Josiah. You were brilliant.